A little bit about myself. I'm a recent May of 2020 grad, and I graduated with a degree in liberal arts with a concentration in English, which fits pretty much perfectly into what we're going to be discussing today, which is our Great Books Honors Program. I'm super excited to be here with Dr. Jacobs and Callie. Callie is a student in the program, and Dr. Jacobs is our director of the program. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves, so we'll just go ahead and get started. Dr. Jacobs.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Andrew Jacobs. I direct the Great Books Honors Program here at Faulkner. I also teach a little bit in the English department, and I've been in Christian education for about 20 years and directing the program for roughly going on 5.
Awesome, wonderful. Callie?
Yes, my name is Callie Cross, and I'm a sophomore, and I am in GB3 at Faulkner, and this will be my second year in Great Books, but I also did what's called a Great Summer.
Okay, so that's so interesting that you bring that up first off. We have different terms that we use in Great Books. I like to describe Great Books as like a little Great Books family, our honors program family. So we have different levels to the program. Dr. Jacobs, do you want to explain that?
Sure. We kind of have two main ways of thinking about GB as far as like the program itself. We have a summer program that usually takes place in I think in June or July. And that's primarily designed to interest rising high school juniors and seniors and give them an idea about what exactly we mean when we're talking about the great books and why essentially Faulkner University would adopt that sort of methodology to basically pilot their honors program. And so we'll have usually a month's work of coursework, and then students will come on campus. We'll have a great time discussing these classical works of literature, and then we also do just a number of cultural events. And so that lets a lot of students know about the program, and it primarily what it does is it gets them interested so that if they want, when they come to Faulkner University, they can join the honors program. And the great thing about Sweet, so we're officially back.
All right, count of 3. Go.
Okay, yeah, but basically what it does is it gets people interested in the program so that when they come here, they can get involved in the honors program. And again, the great thing about what I do, I'm not just one department. When you are in the honors program, you're going to be sitting in there with pretty much every single degree plan represented on campus. So we have health science majors, we have history majors, we have English, we have Bible, we have everyone. And it's I think, a fantastic way of going about honors. So when we talk about an honors degree, typically what that means is it's something elevated. It's something over and above a normal degree plan. These are students who typically, they want more, they want to challenge themselves, they want to do something different with their degree. And I think the way that Faulkner has decided to do it is incredibly important, and it's in keeping with the character of Faulkner University itself. I talk to students all the time about the program, and often what ends up happening is I try to explain to them what our honors program is not. There's a lot of honors programs out there that they go for volume. If they can give you as much as possible, twice as much as everybody else, and you survive, there you go, that's honors. We didn't really want to go that route. You also have honors programs where the different parts don't talk to each other. You may be in an honors English class, or you may be in an honors math class, and the one program doesn't have anything to do with the other. We didn't want to do that. And we also wanted to make sure that whatever it was we gave you as part of the honors program would stay with you. If we give you just a limited amount of content or skill set, then that's it. You're done. That's over. The great thing about, again, the program is that the training that we give you basically allows you to be a learner for your entire lifetime. It doesn't matter what degree plan you're in, it's going to make that degree plan that much better.
Wonderful. So I know you mentioned Great Summer.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll start with that because that's kind of like an introductory kind of period for students if they're interested in great books. So how would a student, because we're talking to a lot of high schoolers here, if they're interested in great books, how would they apply for Great Summer, find out about it, qualify for it? What would they need to do?
The easiest thing is just to get on the website, and if you type in Great Summer, it'll bring up the information page. COVID obviously, created some issues, but eventually you'll see the contact information there, and there will be a form that the student can then fill out. I get notification of the form, and then I basically email you or call you up, and we have a conversation. And we put you on the list, and we'll try to do as much as we can to keep you involved with the community, all in preparation for that online coursework that you'll do during the summer, and then the week that you'll be on campus.
Okay, wonderful. So moving from Great Summer into the actual program, if you love it enough to keep on doing it, if I'm a student and I'm looking at coming to Faulkner and I'm really interested in the Great Books program, what would I need to do to make sure that I qualify to be invited into the honors program?
The primary mechanism that we look at, or where we kind of begin, and to some extent, it is just a beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But we do look at ACT scores. We look at other testing scores. We also look at high school GPA just to see that you've demonstrated a certain amount of work. And so that is kind of a good place to begin. But we very much want to have a conversation with you if you're interested. So if you think this is something that you'd want to do, maybe if your scores are not necessarily where you want them to be, you can participate in Great Summer. What that does is that lets you know what the program is going to be like. It also gives you an idea of whether or not you can kind of handle it. And once you successfully complete Great Summer, then you would basically roll into the GB courses in the fall. Because primarily what we're trying to do, test scores, again, are a great place to begin, but they're not the be-end-all, end-all. The type of person that is going to do really well within our particular honors program is someone who is interested in learning, who has a posture of humility, knows they don't know everything, and really wants to get involved and figure things out, and and wrestle with these books and kind of engage in this conversation with other students. The students that don't do well in our program, honestly, are the ones that just, for the most part, don't want to put forth any sort of effort or engagement. If you don't take great books, you're going to take a different class. What this requires of you is just to be engaged and invest yourself. But we're not grading you on a perfect understanding of Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics. We're giving you don't have to explain Plato's idea of forms in perfect detail. You just need to really be able to read the book, get super confused, which is going to happen, and then ask questions about your confusion. And what we do is we just train you to do this over and over and over again. And by the time you get done with that, you really are in a great position to confront any sort of problem that you have. And that's where we mean we want to give you something that's going to carry with you. We don't want to just give you brief information that you're going to use or study and then forget. You will never be the same after going through this type of program that really trains you how to think and think well.
Right. So Great Books is incredibly humanities based. It's very central to what we do. And so can you kind of give us an overview of like what the coursework might look like? I know that's going to be a big concern for a lot of students, is what does the class look like in and of itself? And we'll start with Dr. Jacobs, but if you want to tag on in that as a student, you have that firsthand experience. Feel free to do that as well. So Dr. Jacobs.
Right. We basically study, or we have a conversation on anything that concerns people, anything that concerns humanities. And I mean, that's kind of the goal of humanities, what it does. This is where I think our program gets super, super unique. If you were to see our classroom, we have a giant conference room. In the room, there are no little desks, big desk. We all have rolly chairs, which I'm told help people think. I don't know. The last time I did it, it made me nauseous. I was not excited about that at all. But we sit in these chairs, and the prime content of what we do is reading classical works of literature. In each of our classes, we've got 5 Great Books courses, all of which substitute for classes that you're already going to have to take. And each of these classes, we follow a very similar pattern. But they move chronologically. So GB1, you're starting with ancient writers. We have just had students begin Great Books 1 this fall. They began with a Roman text, Ovid's Metamorphoses. That was a lot of fun. They just hit Plato's Republic, and they took a brief break from Plato's Republic probably a good thing. And they read Plato's Apology, and then they're going to go back to it. So we move chronologically. And so GB2, you're dealing with medieval and Renaissance. You'll eventually hit Enlightenment, Romantic. Great Books 4 is the modern period. All sorts of crazy things happen in there. You get Tolkien and you get Freud. You get Lewis and you get Sartre. So it tends to be a pretty interesting conversation. But what we do, and we have book scholarships attached to this, because if you're in the honors program, we want to make sure we give you these books. Everyone's got to have the same edition because we use page numbers a lot. And we just want you to build your library. So what we do is we give you these books. Don't read the introduction. Don't read the commentary. All right? Don't even listen to somebody else who wants to tell you about this particular book. All we want you to do is read the text. It's you and a pencil, you and a highlighter if you want to use multiple highlighters. That confuses me, but I have students who they have different color highlighters as to whether or not they either understand what's going on or if they agree or disagree with an author. But read the author and be confused, because the content in itself is going to be complex. In GB, we love you enough to give you the best. So we're not going to give you terrible books. We're going to give you really awesome books that have something to say. And so you'll read it, and you will come up with questions. And we train you how to do this. And so you have to basically ask what's called an interpretive question. And this is a specific kind of question. It's not a question of fact. You're not evaluating it. You're trying to figure out what the text really means on a very, very deep level. So you'll ask this question, put it on a document, and then I collect them. And so we'll have 15 students in the class, and you're not going to get more than 15. We cap it at that. All of them will have read a text. They will ask these questions. I organize the questions. And basically what we do every single class period is we get together and we have a discussion of these questions. My role is not to provide answers, drive students absolutely bonkers. But that's part of the motivation behind what we do. If I give you the answer, it's a very passive process. You haven't done anything to earn that answer. And in all likelihood, it wasn't fun getting to that answer. And so my role is to offer clarifications. I ask questions. I guide the discussion in case we just end up going off the deep end. But every single class period, the student is on. And that's where when we come down to numbers, by the time you get done with a GB class, you've had over 40 hours of this training in I'm reading something complex, I'm asking a question, I'm listening to others who try to explain something within the text, and I'm mulling that over and trying to come to a conclusion. You do that over and over and over again. By the time you get done with the whole program, you're like over 100, 200 hours. And nobody has that sort of active engagement every single time.
Yeah. So Callie, tell us what it's like inside the classroom as a student being there, what it's like with that roundtable discussion with your peers, from different majors, different backgrounds. What does it feel like? What does it look like?
Well, I'll start with saying, you really do get 1,000 different personalities inside this little group, but you're all on the exact same page, and that's just confusion. Coursework isn't bad. Honestly, when I did a great summer, I was super terrified. I was like, I'm going to be so busy all the time. I'm not. Great Books, if you do it correctly, is not going to overwhelm you. If you have a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class, you're posting 2 questions a day, for the class before. So 6 questions in total that entire week. And you're done, and you just have to read. And then you'll have an essay or a blog comment. But inside the classroom, teacher-wise, student teacher-wise, it's so much fun. They really never give us any answers, no matter how hard you try.
Or cry.
Or cry.
Which
very
happens.
accurate.
Which happens, or crawl under a table.
Yep.
Less frequent, but it does happen.
Yeah.
Which also happens. I've seen it. It's crazy. But you also form very good mentorship bonds with your teachers, but not only your teachers, you find some of your best friends because you realize that everyone really just doesn't understand anything.
And I can absolutely speak to that as somebody who's gone through all 3 years of the program. I met some of my best friends in the Great Books Honors Program and some of the best minds that I've ever come into contact with. And I know that you can absolutely agree with that.
I met my best friend in the entire world in a great summer, and we're two very different people.
It is so special. I am very non-confrontational. I do not like to voice my opinion if I know that it's going to hurt somebody else's. But in the Great Books classroom, it's like some people's personalities change 100%, and I think that's so interesting to see. And I know that I found my voice in the Great Books classroom. And that's something that's really special to me and really helped shape me into who I am now and to find what I want to do with my life. And I want to be an English literature professor, and I want to stay in the humanities because of great books. And so I think that it's just a special program in and of that is because of the personalities that we have.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so can you tell me a little bit more about the essays? I think that's something that's really special about the Great Books program is how we format our essays, how those essays are done, and the frequency of them.
Okay, I'll do like Great Books 1 format for essays. So your first class with Great Books, or if you do a great summer, I think it's 4 essays.
Yeah, each GB class is going to have 4 interpretive essays, and one of those is usually a creative one.
Yes. So on the first 3 is the interpretive. So say you have a question in class that someone else asks. You can take that question and just use the text and prove it, but I think a lot of people when they hear essay get scared, but it's 750 words. And when you think about when you have to put quotes in it and you actually have to explain the quote, it's honestly, if you do it right, it's not that difficult. And as long as you really do interpret what you're trying to say and get your point across, it's amazing. But the best part of GB is they really do care about you and your grades. And if you just absolutely bomb an essay, you always have the opportunity to rewrite it for a B-. And it's an elevated grading scale with Great Books, but a B- is an 86. Right. So no matter what, as long as you rewrite it and you prove that you were getting better and listening to their comments on your essay, you will be better.
Right. I think you saying that's something that I think is very special about the program is just being better, moving forward. And that's why we have those different levels in the program from Great Books 1, 2, 3, and 4 is moving through the program and just, like you said, that practice, that repetition of writing those questions, reading those works is what helps you grow yourself within the literature and also connecting it back to whatever you're studying as your major field of study here at Faulkner. So you're a legal studies major. So can you kind of tell me how Great Books has fit into that? Because I know a lot of students might be like, oh, well, I'm a biology major, so I don't really know how literature is going to fit into my biology major. Can you kind of tell me how it's fit into yours as a legal studies major?
Absolutely. So as a legal studies major, I'm pre-law, so I'm going to law school. So I'm a very argumentative person in general if I'm going to be a legal studies major. But Great Books' core foundation in the classroom is active and passively listening. Mm-hmm. So if I'm speaking and I'm more of a strong personality, I have to learn to back my personality down to make sure everyone's voice gets in. Or if you have someone who's a very soft, spoken person, you have to kind of let them engage more. But more importantly, it has taught me to listen to other people's opinions very easily and learn that I can see a different point of view completely without just going straight into you're wrong, right, which is great. Yeah. So, yeah, it's great. And then you just learn, even with going back to the text, I tell my parents when I go home or when they call me and they're asking me, I'm like, I'm reading someone who's forever old, and they went a long time ago. But I tell my parents, some of the things it relates to your major, of course, but more relates to who you are as a person, right, which will in turn relate to what field you're going into. So if you want to be a strong Christian attorney, you have these beliefs and these systems of where you can say, I may disagree with this, but this is why I disagree with it, and I'm going to back off, but I'm going to back off respectfully. Right.
Okay. So Dr. Jacobs, can you kind of speak to how Great Books fits in a degree plan or within a major that might not traditionally fit in? Like we were talking about biology earlier. How would I, if I was majoring in biology, fit Great Books into my degree plan?
Yeah, the great, at least in a mechanical way, in a practical way, the great thing about the way that Faulkner has devised this honors program is it doesn't matter what degree plan you're in. We take out core classes. We have a wide range of classes that everybody has to take. And we can basically replace those classes with Great Books. So it will actually fit into every degree plan. But the wonderful thing about it is, and Callie was speaking to this a little bit, it deals with anything that concerns people. And at some point, depending on what your interest is, if you're a Bible major, I guarantee we're going to have plenty of conversations that will then feed into these theological studies in which you're engaged. If you're a biology student, at some point, we're going to be dealing with the text. I mean, for instance, GB3, I don't know if y'all have gotten to it yet. Y'all just finished Descartes, right?
Yes.
I think so. At some
And
point,
Voltaire.
Yeah.
at some point during Descartes, there's going to be a discussion that fits very, very easily within biology. So it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what degree in. At some point, you're going to get something that very much connects to your particular degree field. And because we are dealing with concerns or questions related to people in general, it's going to affect you in some way. And so one of the things that is extremely beneficial to us, and I think to some degree makes us an attractive program, especially for somebody, say, like, or a college like health sciences, you want a doctor that not only knows the material, okay, not only knows the math, the science, the content. You want a doctor who's also going to treat you like a human being. And the great thing is this helps or facilitates both. There's absolutely no way for you to go through the entire program and not think more deeply about what it means to be a really good human being. And so it will absolutely improve no matter what you do. You will be a better accountant, a better doctor, a better teacher. You're just going to be a better human being. So in that way, it fits into every single degree plan, and there is benefit in making those connections.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I'm sure this is a question that you might get a lot. So say I'm kind of interested in the Great Books program. I really like that it helps me develop critical thinking skills. It can fit into my major, like you just talked about. But what if I don't like to read?
Well, there's a couple things attached to that. One is if you're going to college, you're going to read. So if you don't like to read to the point where like you really don't want to read, you probably shouldn't be going to college in the first place. The question is, what is it you are going to read? Mm-hmm. So the great thing about this particular program, at least as far as the texts go, and I think because I've had a number of students within the program who they are in that camp. They say, I'm just not a big reader. I don't like to read. But when they get within the program, they really enjoy reading. And I think in part it relates to the fact that we don't tell them what to think. I've had a lot of students who described in their previous education experience, they will have a teacher go over a book with them, and they really won't discuss the book. It's, here's this book, here's the author, here's the time period, here's what you need to know, here's the themes, here's what this means. Okay, now go read the book. At that point, why even read the book? And so what we do is we use a backwards approach. We tell you next to nothing about the book. We basically just give it to you and just ask you to figure it out. And more often than not, the students who don't like reading like this process because they can discover it for themselves. And we read a wide range of different types of books. So we often kind of joke that if you're in our program, at some point you figure out, are you more narrative driven? Do you like the fiction? Or do you really love engaging in philosophy? And so if you love philosophy, we will give you philosophy. If you hate philosophy, you read that philosopher, and then eventually you'll get to move to something else. So even if you hit something that you don't like, eventually you get to move on. But reading is absolutely paramount to being a good human being. And so even if you don't like it, we hope that this will help cultivate a love for reading that will follow you wherever you go.
So moving into, I guess, the social aspect of Great Books. Great Books is a very special program, and it has a lot of quirks because it's full of so many different people. So Callie, can you tell me some of like your favorite, we call them GB traditions, that we have within the classroom? We have tons and tons. So tell me about some of your favorites.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So first one is absolutely the board of quotes. If you just say something that is just, or someone else, or even Dr. Jacobs or Fullman, or they say something that is absolutely off the wall, it goes on the board for the rest of the year. You write the quote. But the good thing about this is no one knows the context in any other class of the quote. So like last year, I had one about, I said something about a busted can of biscuits. Do you remember this?
That image is ingrained in my mind. I will never forget that. I can't look at biscuits the same.
It's like I said something along the lines of that. But it was on the board for the rest of the entire GB2. I think it was in 2. So the rest of every GB class up until 5 that was going on last semester, and nobody knew what was going on. But then the funny thing about the whole thing is at the end, I learned something from the board. It's that I've been smelling biscuits my whole life. Entirely
I
wrong.
love it.
Yeah, we may have had a phone, didn't we? Because I think, didn't you call somebody in the...
I had to call my mother, and I was like, Mom, why did you not tell me this? I am 19 years old, and I am in the honors program in college, and I spelled biscuits wrong. And nobody thought to tell me until we were almost done.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, and she says that's fun though, but it's like I'm the one that usually has to explain the context,
Right, to the other classes.
and that's not as much fun because it is sometimes difficult to explain. And then now because we've got 2 classrooms now going on, Dr. Fullman teaches the other. I'm really lost, so there may be a number of quotes on the board, but it's a fun tradition. We start out with a blank board, and by the time we get to the end of the semester,
You're squeezing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really full.
And I think that just speaks to the community that the program builds, is that you're going to form those relationships. And, as much as Great Books is about the academics and forming that academic side of your mind while you're in college, it's also about nurturing that social relationship, because it's harder to learn when you don't have those relationships. And it's so much harder to get through the program if you're not making friends with the people in your classes. And I know you probably feel that just as much as anybody. And it's important to have those discussions in the classroom and out of the classroom. So another thing that I'd like to touch on is something special that our Great Books Honors program does, which is our honors thesis. So can you kind of talk about what that looks like for us?
It looks like at first students really, really nervous and crying a lot. But it's okay, because what we want to do is when we have honor students, we want to work with them from freshman year all the way to when they graduate. I mean, this is meant to inform your entire college experience. And so we try to tailor the thesis to every student. So you're going to find something that you're interested in or that you really want to do. So we have the 5 Great Books courses that we do. So Great Books 1 through 5, again, that's substitute for something in another degree plan. And eventually, when you start getting to about Great Books 3, 4, 5, you start engaging in what are called contract courses. And these do not add anything to your degree plan. They're not overly burdensome. But what we do, and this goes back to our willingness and our big desire to make sure that this connects to everything that you do, we take classes typically in your major and we add some sort of component to them. Usually that's designed to help you write your thesis, so that by the time you get to this point, you've already got some material or content created. You're not just doing it from scratch. And so you'll create those contract courses. We get to work with the instructor of those courses, and it ends up just being a really great experience. It kind of functions to some degree on a graduate level, because you've got the student, you've got the GB fellow, and then you've got the content person who's over that class. And all of us collaborate to basically help this student come to some sort of research. When it comes to the thesis itself, it really is wide open. You can do what you want. I had a student not too long back I was trying to convince, was not sure that she wanted to do the thesis, was for whatever reason, gigantic Taylor Swift fan. And education major Taylor Swift fan, I said, you know what, we could figure out a way to make this work. I don't know how, but we will do it. But it's designed to build from your interests. So this goes back to our question related to how does this affect me if I'm a biology major. We had a science major not too long back who absolutely loved the GB model. And there's a lot of discussion. Can this GB model be used in math and science courses? And she really thought, absolutely, this has to be. And so for her thesis, what it actually did was she created a project where she built a Great Books-based science course. And in order to do this, she read a number of scientific works. If you're a science major, basically, these are the books that you need to read to make sure that you have a very good understanding of how we have arrived in the way that we have concerning these subject areas. She built the syllabi. She built assignments related to it. She had this gigantic reading list, and then she presented it. And the great thing about that is not only is it an excellent thesis, but it also has practical application. This is something that can, in fact, be used at a college university in order to complement any of these science programs. So you can do project-based, you can do research-based. We have a lot of students who will research a particular subject area and they present on that. Music majors will do it. So it really is a fantastic way of going about the thesis, because we can tailor it to the student's interest. They're doing something that they love doing. We can also tailor it to help that student in graduate school. So we've got a student now who is on a full ride to Auburn, not solely related to her work within the honors, but it helped her know what she wanted to do, and she could point to the thesis as demonstrating she basically was doing graduate level work on the undergraduate level. And so this is something that you'll do junior, senior year. We love it to be your capstone and kind of just the final thing that you'll do. And it's scary at the beginning, but hopefully by the time you complete it, you've found it worthwhile.
Okay, so as we kind of like round this out, this discussion, Callie, I want from your perspective, as a student, what is the point of taking a Great Books class? What's the point of being in the program? What does that mean to you as a student?
As a student, it just means that I genuinely am taking initiative to the next step of my life. Because college is just another stepping stone before you graduate, before you get that big job, or if, like me, if you're going to graduate school, to keep going. And Great Books is helping me in that stepping stone. And with that stepping stone, I'm meeting people that are just like me. If you're like me, I didn't feel like there was ever really a certain place that I fit in high school. Everyone fits in Great Books. You will find friends from all different places, all different backgrounds, and you really fit in, but you also meet people who want to have these hard questions and hard conversations, and you have amazing professors that are willing to be open and go, okay, we can have this hard conversation, but this is why we're doing it. And it really just helps you critical think, and it helps you just approach life in a completely different way. I have taken 3 Great Books classes in a year and a half. And the person I was before I started Great Books and the person I am now is completely different in the way I view the world. So I couldn't imagine, I can't imagine how, once I defend my thesis when I'm a senior, what the difference is going to be.
So Dr. Jacobs, kind of answering that question as an academic, as a professor, what is the point of Great Books? What do you see?
Oh, goodness. Okay, so especially within the Christian context, we are asked by God to glorify him. And one of the primary ways that we need to do that is via our intellect. We've got to glorify him in the way that we think. Now that, again, doesn't mean necessarily that you have the highest score possible on an ACT or anything like that. More often than not, it's the sort of learning that is required of a person when someone provides a parable that you don't understand. And you have to be willing to sit down and look at yourself and look at the parable and really try to figure out what that means. It's a posture of humility that is incredibly important no matter what you do. And so the way that we tend to think about it is when you are involved in this program, you are learning more about people. You're learning about people by reading from people. You're interacting with other people in the class, and you're coming to a better understanding of what it means to be a human being. There's absolutely no way to come to a better understanding of what it means to be human and not see Christ better. And so by the time you get done, ultimately, that's really what we want. We want Christ to be much more apparent to you so that you can then go be Christ to other people.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite things that I ever learned from Great Books was that the more you look like Christ, the more you'll look like yourself. And I think that's one of the biggest things that Great Books teach us through the writings that we read, through the literature, through the philosophy, is that looking like Christ makes us look more like ourselves. And I think that's something that's just truly one of the most special things. And it embodies everything that Faulkner wants to be. Right. Having that Christ-centered university, the education of the whole person, the mind, the body, and the spirit, and just really taking all of that, putting it together in a course, and presenting that to students as they move through their college experience. So kind of to close out, this is a rigorous course. This is, it's not something that's easy. It is an honors course. It is an honors program. And so students might find some frustration and some late nights and just some confusion like we talked about. Callie, how have the professors in this program, how have other students really helped you make it through? I know you're 3 classes in. How have they helped you? How have you helped yourself? What kind of positive experiences have you had from the faculty and from your peers?
So from faculty, literally couldn't do it without Dr. Jacobs and Dr. Foreman and like Professor Shirley and stuff that like I've talked to. Their doors are literally always open if you ever need anything. So like if you're going through something and you're like, hey, I really need help on this, they're absolutely always there to talk. But time management is the biggest thing I had to learn, because it really is the only thing that helps you through college in general. But there's always going to be late nights in college. But if you just have good time management skills and you just like listen to yourself pretty much, and you have priorities, because if you are in the honors program, you are held to a higher standard when it comes to grades. And if you just put that as, I don't want this to reflect bad on me or my teachers or my professors or anything, it's completely different. But they'll always help you, and as long as you have a decent time management skill, you're good.
All right. Well, I think this was super informative. It made me miss Great Books so very much. It's an amazing program. If you would like more information about Great Books, go on our website, www.faulkner.edu. Go to our Great Books dropdown. We also have it linked here on our page. Fill out that form. It'll get you in touch with Dr. Jacobs so we can give you a little bit more insight into the Great Books Honors Program. If this has just convinced you that Faulkner might be the place for you, go ahead and fill out that application linked here or at www.faulkner.edu for our traditional undergraduate enrollment. We do have a promo code going right now for the Junior League College Fair, just JR League, all caps. Enter that in when you fill out the application and bypass that application fee. Thank you guys so much for being here. You are wonderful. This was awesome. And thank you from Faulkner Admissions and SOAR